Katie Thronson had a premonition of death that, tragically, came true. This is the last picture Katie Thronson ever drew. It was her vision of another life beyond this one. It seemed to spring from an active imagination, but less than a week after Katie showed the drawing to her mother, the little girl, who seemed heaven sent, was gone.
Katie was a beautiful little girl who was really happy and was always kissing people, just really loving.
She would always have her arms around other children. She seemed to be the one that always brought children together.
Over the course of almost 7 years, she had hundreds of drawings. She expressed herself by drawing hearts all the time because she was filled with love.
Julie Thronson vividly recalls one day in October of 1991 when Katie came to her out of the blue with an unsettling question.
She came into the room where I was sitting, holding a tablet that she had been drawing on, and in a real innocent way came up to me and asked me, "Mommy, am I gonna die?" And I said, "No, honey, of course not. You're not gonna die." And she said, "Never?" And I said, "Katie, no, you're not gonna die." Then she just danced off, happy that she wasn't gonna die.
But 2 days later, Katie developed what appeared to be a severe flu. The next day, her condition worsened, and she was rushed to the hospital. Doctors suspected that Katie had a ruptured appendix.
In the hours after that time, and prior to her going to surgery, her prognosis had become extremely grave.
Julie never left her daughter's side. Just before 3 o'clock, while Katie was awaiting surgery, there was a change in her breathing. She lapsed into unconsciousness, and Julie could not wake her.
I said, "Katie, Katie, just talk to Mama." And she wasn't responding to me at all. And I looked at the clock, and it was right at 3 o'clock. I looked at the clock, I looked at her, and suddenly she just sat up in the hospital bed, raised her arms out towards the window, opened her eyes. It was like she wanted me to pick her up, yet she wasn't in my direction. There was this stillness in the room that is indescribable. It was just completely still. It was like an infinite moment. And in my spirit, I just knew that my little girl had been taken. And I ran out into the hall, and I just yelled, "My little girl just died. I just saw her die."
A medical team rushed in to try to revive Katie. Julie waited in the hallway, just outside the room where her daughter was dying.
And then I noticed a pregnant woman walking towards me, and I could tell by the look in her eyes that she was going to say something to me. And she came right up to me. She touched me on the shoulder, and she said, "The Lord has spoken to me. You're to be like a lioness. Your little girl is okay." And I just felt this shiver go through my body, and I thought, if the Lord has spoken to her, then Katie is okay. Whether she's gonna live or whether she's gone to God, Katie's gonna be okay.
The woman disappeared as if into thin air, and Julie never saw her again. Katie was being kept alive with machines. After 3 days, doctors pronounced her legally brain dead. The Thronsons made the agonizing decision to remove life support.
The autopsy indicated that there was indeed appendicitis and that there had been extension of this infection locally to other organs that were nearby.
Officially, Katie died October 10th, but both Julie and her doctor believed Katie was gone much sooner.
When I told the doctor that at that time she had raised her arms out towards the window, he said, I believe that that was the time that Katie left her body. And that although they artificially kept her alive, she had died at 3 o'clock.
It was 6-year-old Katie who was the first to be laid to rest in the family plot. It was an unspeakable tragedy from which the Thronsons never thought they would recover. But a few months later, there was a ray of hope stuffed inside a cardboard box. Julie found the tablet that Katie had been drawing on just days before her death.
She had drawn a picture of these angels surrounding a light, and the cloud and the moon had sad faces, and all the angels had sad faces, and some of them even had tears coming down their face. The picture said everything. When I saw it, I knew without a doubt that Katie had a premonition.
Julie drew strength from that cherished drawing. Then, 5 months after Katie's death, a picture appeared in Life magazine that seemed to confirm Julie's belief that her daughter's drawing was a premonition. This 19th century engraving was part of an article about life after death. The depiction of a welcoming vortex of light was strikingly similar to Katie's own vision. Both pictures have a circular pattern that resembles the tunnel of light commonly reported in near-death experiences. Coincidence? Or did Katie receive a divine message?
She knew she was going to die. She drew that picture. She asked me, Mommy, am I going to die?
Whether or not she knew the meaning of it, I believe her spirit did.
Author Dr. Gerald Jampolsky is a child psychiatrist who counsels bereaved families. After Julie Thronson saw the Life magazine article, she wrote to Dr. Jampolsky and asked him to look at Katie's drawing.
I pointed out that at 3 o'clock, it looked like one of the angels was going toward the center, going toward the light.
I was like amazed for a minute, and he continued, but I'm thinking, he doesn't know that Katie died at 3 o'clock. There's no way he could know that.
Julie also tried to find the pregnant woman who had comforted her. The hospital gave her the names and phone numbers of all the women in the maternity ward that day, but none of them remembered speaking to Julie.
She was obviously an angel. There was some kind of a message there of life and death and birth.
The cycle of death and birth continues. There is a new life in the Thronson family. Little Cody was born on October 7th, 1992, 1 year to the day after Katie died. It was an uncanny coincidence.
I was once told a definition of coincidence that I've always found very helpful. A coincidence is a miracle in which God wishes to remain anonymous. That makes a lot of sense to me.
When the Thronsons take Katie's brothers and sisters to her grave, the family remembers and talks about what they believe is God's plan.
It was a gift from beyond, maybe a gift from God.
The impact that drawing has had on our life is just beyond words. We have this to share with people. We have the hope to share with people that there is a beautiful side to all of this.
It helped us in the healing because it gave us both peace. I felt honored that Katie